On the 6th of September 2022, a TigerMoth and a Cessna prepared to depart Cambridge Airport, Hobart. The flight was to commemorate environmental activist Brenda Hean and pilot Max Price, who had attempted to fly from Hobart to Canberra 50 years earlier. As a last-ditch effort to stop the flooding of Lake Pedder, Brenda and Max planned to fly Max's TigerMoth over Parliament House and sign write, Save Lake Pedder. Their plane vanished without a trace as it headed to Flinders Island. Foul play was suspected, as the hangar had been broken into the night before the flight. Brenda had also been receiving threatening phone calls in the lead up to their departure, including the threat, "How would you like to go for a swim?" Members of the Restore Lake Pedder group scrambled to get to Cambridge Airport as the decision was made to depart 2 days earlier than planned. Predicted bad weather threatened the whole venture. The TigerMoth Millie had been flown down from Cressy, Victoria, just days before. With a quick turnaround, pilot Jason Cheney with Cessna pilot Oliver Ditcham prepped for departure. Organiser Dick Friend watched nervously. Charlotte Ditcham, great-great-niece of Brenda Hean, was flying the first leg to honour Brenda's bravery and commitment 50 years earlier.
So not long now before I jump into the front seat of Millie, the TigerMoth, and I'm wearing a scarf of Brenda's, and in my pockets I'll have some Pedder sand and a Pedder penny and a photo of Brenda on Lake Pedder.
Starting an old biplane is rudimentary and requires someone to stand at the tail to stop it running away. Taxiing past the yellow Cessna support plane and the enthusiastic group of well-wishers, the adventure began.
I was just so excited when we took off, and the views were spectacular. Got cold very quickly. When I looked out, tried not to stick my head out too much because it was really windy and really cold. I put my head down a lot just to try and keep warm and get out of the breeze a bit. I was mostly worried just that I'd get sick, but I didn't, so that's good. Held onto that sick bag very tightly. But no, I had no time to be nervous, so we just did it. It was kind of nice, and not that it was quiet, but at the same time it was peaceful. Just to be up there looking out, it was really peaceful and calming. I guess I thought that I was doing something pretty unique. No one else is really going to be doing this flight, and especially in a TigerMoth. And yeah, it felt pretty special to be doing this and honouring Brenda.
St Helens was a quick refuelling stop, and Millie was soon underway with Charlotte again in the front seat. Bridport on the northeast coast of Tasmania was the next stop before crossing Bass Strait. The route to Canberra was to closely follow the original plan proposed by Max Price, up the east coast and refuel at Flinders Island, then along the Victorian coast into New South Wales and across the Great Dividing Range into Canberra. Arriving in Bridport safely after outrunning the bad weather that had closed in on Hobart was a great feeling. But the dangerous Bass Strait crossing lay ahead the next day. Millie's pilot Jason goes through his usual pre-flight preparation. Checking the fuel is vital for the crossing of Bass Strait. One theory about the disappearance of Brenda and Max was their reserve tank might have been intentionally contaminated. Oliver Ditcham is Brenda Hean's great-great-nephew and the support pilot of the Cessna that has been flying with Millie. His role is to support Jason by flying ahead, checking weather and relaying radio communications. For the first leg to Flinders Island, aviation journalist Dion Mikowski is in the front seat. Millie is set up to be flown from the rear seat, and having someone in the front seat is important to keep the plane balanced. With cloud cover building, the team were keen to head north. Like any 80-year-old, Millie had a hard time getting started on this crisp Tassie morning. But eventually she fired up and the team were underway.
For me, I grew up knowing a little bit about Brenda and what she stood for. I spent a lot of time actually out at Lake Pedder, so for me it was more a case of living up to her legacy and doing right by her name.
As a young activist, I met Brenda Hean, who was quite different from most of the other campaigners. She was a polite society lady, so she was such an inspiration because he was someone so committed who actually then, along with Max Price, gave her life to this cause of saving Lake Pedder. And so, you know, the least I can do is spend a few months celebrating her commitment and doing this flight as a tribute to her effort to save what was the jewel of southwest Tasmania.
As the flight approaches Flinders Island, the first leg over Bass Strait has been smooth and without incident. And with a textbook touchdown on the grass strip at Lady Barron, the long leg to Yarram in Victoria awaits. Topping up with fuel for the long leg over water is a rudimentary affair. And with cinematographer Mike Gissing in Millie's front seat, we share in the thrill of flying a TigerMoth over Flinders Island and Bass Strait. Instrumentation is minimal. Controls are basic. Without instrumentation to fly in clouds, the tactic is to go around or under potential problem clouds. Approaching Deal Island, the team are reminded of the 1943 plane crash that killed 4 RAAF airmen. Deal Island has a grass airstrip, which was said to be in poor condition. The team was thankful the flight was going smoothly, and this emergency option was not needed. Lower clouds were moving in from the west, and at times Millie was flying at 1,500 feet to get under them. The smell of salty air in our nostrils. After an hour of water crossing, it was a relief to be over land at Wilson's Promontory. At least, an emergency landing on a beach was now possible. Arriving at Yarram, we had achieved our first major step, which was to commemorate Brenda and Max's journey and not reenact their tragedy.
Head up.
For the leg from Yarram to Malakuta, Jason was joined by Liz Eden. Due to the decision to fly 2 days earlier, the original plan of having various legs of the journey in Millie offered to restore Pedder enthusiasts was changed. Liz was the only extra person to join the adventure. The changes to plans also meant we had no ground support, so Mike had to drive Liz's car to Malakuta. But it gave him the rare opportunity to film both planes taking off. With weather closing in and headwinds building, the TigerMoth struggled to maintain a decent speed. Made of a timber frame with stretched, painted fabric wings, Millie is light and easily buffeted as the winds picked up.
Yesterday was a very windy day. We had very, very slow ground speeds. I think we're battling about a 30-knot headwind, and his cruise speed is about 75 knots, so it's a very, very slow ground speed for him. In fact, the cars on the highway were going faster than he was. Then we got into Malakuta and woke up today and decided that we weren't going anywhere because all the rain and clouds were moving south down towards us, so we weren't going to actually make it through.
As the plane sat grounded at Malakuta, events on the other side of the planet were about to change everything. The planned triumphal arrival in Canberra to complete Brenda and Max's original journey was about to unravel. The death of Queen Elizabeth, the day before the final leg to Canberra, meant Parliament was suspended, and out of respect, all the planned activities for Millie's arrival were cancelled. With doubts about getting across the Great Dividing Range, the pilots decided to make an early dash up the New South Wales coast next morning to attempt to get through the mountains. If it was too dangerous, the flight would be abandoned and the TigerMoth would turn back. Against the odds, Millie and the Cessna made it through to Canberra to a small but enthusiastic group of well-wishers, including Celia Watchorn, Brenda Hean's niece, who had watched Brenda depart 50 years earlier. Although all other media and events were cancelled, the champagne was popped, and the crew posed for photos to commemorate their epic achievement.